According to the Washington Post, there have been more deadly mass shootings this year than any year since at least 2006. Two senators sponsoring a new bill to tackle gun violence will join us next.
The Situation Room with Wolf Blitzer, tonight at 6 on CNN.
It's incredible what my Food Saver vacuum sealer can do. Easy meal prep. Amazing how fresh the salmon is. Food stays fresh up to 5 times longer, saving me thousands in groceries. Food Saver saves money, time, and flavor.
Okay, everyone. Our mission is to provide complete balanced nutrition for strength and energy.
Ensure with 27 vitamins and minerals, nutrients for immune health, and Ensure Complete with 30 grams of protein.
The first time you connected your GoDaddy website and your store was also the first time you realized.
Well, we can do anything. Cheesecake cookies? The Chookies!
Manage all your sales from one place with a partner that always puts you first. Start today at GoDaddy.com.
Whenever you're hungry, there's a deal on the Subway app. Buy 1 footlong, get one 50% off in the Subway app today.
Now that's a deal worth celebrating.
Man, what are you doing? Get it before it's gone on the Subway app.
Did you know you could save with GoodRx even if you have insurance?
I'm on Medicare. I check GoodRx because it can beat my copay. Who wouldn't like that?
Even if you have insurance, GoodRx can help you save. Another good reason to check GoodRx.
I'll be home for Christmas. Please have snow and mistletoe and presents on the tree.
Right now, all over the country, kids at Shriners Hospitals for Children are able to go home and be with their families for the holidays. And that's only possible because of the monthly donations from people like you.
Thanks to a generous donor, every dollar you give can help twice as many kids like me and have double the impact.
With your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you, and a reminder of the care you'll be providing so kids can be with their families.
Christmas Eve will find me where the love light gleams.
It only takes a moment to call the number on your screen, or you can visit loveshriners.org.
Thanks to a generous donor, your gift will go twice as far and help more kids like me.
Because every child just wants to be home for the holidays, and your gift makes that possible.
Your call is the best gift of all.
Your gift will be my favorite Christmas present this year.
Thank you for giving.
Please call the number on your screen or go to loveshriners.org to give whatever you can.
And when you do, your gift will have 2 times the impact.
Mashed potato lovers, your day has come. Indulge in the rich, creamy classic Bob Evans mashed potatoes. Farm fresh potatoes blended with real milk and butter for that homemade taste. With the delicious taste Bob Evans is known for. Bring home the warm comfort of mashed potatoes today.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Page Publishing. Want to publish a book? We'll review your manuscript for free.
If you've written a book, Page Publishing can help you through the process. We cut through the confusion of the publishing world to make it easy for you.
Call 800-563-0741.
The nation reached a gruesome milestone over the weekend. According to the Washington Post, the United States set a new record for deadly mass shootings. So far in 2023, there have been 38 shootings in the U.S. where 4 or more people have been killed. One of the year's deadliest shootings took place in Lewiston, Maine, where a gunman killed 18 people using an assault-style weapon that he purchased legally, despite law enforcement knowing about disturbing threats he made months earlier to carry out a similar attack. We want to bring in Maine Senator Angus King alongside New Mexico Senator Martin Heinrich to discuss the Go Safe Act. It's a new bill they've co-sponsored that tackles gun violence in an unprecedented way. And Senator Heinrich, one of the ways that this bill is unique is that it tackles the internal mechanisms of these weapons. You argue that this focuses on eliminating mass shooters, and it also allows Second Amendment advocates to ensure that they have protections enshrined by the Constitution.
This bill really draws a bright line between the kind of traditional firearms that get used for self-defense and hunting and sporting, between those firearms and these assault-style rifles, and the things that make those assault weapons so dangerous.
Senator King, you opposed an all-out assault weapons ban back in 2013 after Sandy Hook. After Uvalde, you expressed skepticism that that kind of law would be effective. This bill is obviously different, and it comes after what happened in Lewiston. So I'm wondering how much that shooting led to you introducing this now.
Well, first I should say that my reluctance to support the prior bill was that because it was based on what the gun looked like rather than how it worked. And subsequent to that, Martin and I have been working on this bill for 3 or 4 years to focus on the functionality and the lethality rather than the cosmetics. That's the focus of this bill. As I say, we've been working on it for a long time. Lewiston sort of cemented and said, this is something we got to do. It strengthened my resolve, but we had started working on it long before. And the whole point of the bill is this guy in Lewiston had 2 high-capacity magazines duct taped together. Yeah. And when he started shooting people, ran out of bullets, he could just flip them around and reload in a second. That's what our bill would prevent.
I'm wondering what your response is to folks who say that there were laws on the books in Maine that could have prevented that shooting, given that law enforcement was aware of the threats that the shooter made there, but the laws didn't work the way that they were intended, and therefore other gun control measures likely won't be as effective. What would you say in response?
That's like saying if people speed, we shouldn't have speeding laws. I mean, that's ridiculous. There were gaps, and I think that the governor's appointed a commission to sort of examine what happened and where the dots weren't connected. I think that's a very legitimate part of this, but I don't think that undermines the case for restricting the manufacture of these weapons so that they're not inherently dangerous. And that's, you mentioned the Second Amendment, that's consistent with the history. We've sawed-off shotguns and machine guns have essentially been illegal for 100 years. These weapons, when they have the high-capacity magazines, fit into that category, and that's what we're focused on.
Senator Heinrich, what's the response been from Republicans? I know the bill was co-sponsored with an independent and some other Democrats. Yep. No Republicans thus far.
Not yet, but we are having conversations with Republicans, and we will continue to do that. There's been more interest in this legislation than there was in previous efforts. We haven't landed anyone yet, but the sad reality is practically every senator has had one of these mass shootings in their state. And this conversation is only growing more urgent over time.
By the way, the numbers you presented at the beginning are actually worse.
Yeah.
That 37 is 4 people killed.
At least 4.
If it's 4 people killed and wounded, it's 627.
2 a day.
2 a day.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about here. And again, I come from a state very strong Second Amendment tradition, hunting tradition, second highest rate of gun ownership in the country, responsible gun ownership, but these weapons are outside of what people use for hunting or sporting.
I imagine, Senator, that you've presented those numbers and the bill and your argument to fellow Maine Senator Susan Collins, a very influential Republican, somebody that I imagine would be key in getting something like this advanced. What have the conversations with her been like?
She's reviewing it. I think she's taking it seriously. She has never supported a bill like this. She is joined a bill that we both are on about bump stocks, which convert a semi-automatic weapon to essentially a machine gun, and she's right there on that one. And I think she's taking this very seriously.
Senator, I'm glad you mentioned bump stocks because we've seen previous legislation to eliminate things like bump stocks get reviewed by federal courts and get overturned. We know the Supreme Court is going to take a look at bump stocks next year. If this winds up passing, are you concerned that the Supreme Court, one that has undone precedent before, one that leans conservative, may just undo it?
If they stay consistent to the rulings that they've made in the past, including rulings like Heller, where Scalia was the primary author, we have crafted this in a way that is well within the line of those rulings. We've been very careful to put something together that we thought could withstand the precedent as it stands today. There's nothing I can do if the Supreme Court deviates from that, but we've written this in a way that is very much consistent with existing court rulings.
On page 54 of the Heller decision, which Justice Scalia wrote, nobody's accused him of being a liberal or anti-gun. Right. He says the Second Amendment isn't unlimited. There's not a right to carry any weapon whatsoever in any place whatsoever for whatever purpose. And he recognized that there was a category that really could be regulated by the government in order to protect public safety.
And they call that inherently dangerous and unusual, and it applies to things like fully automatic weapons. We would argue that these weapons, as we've defined them in this bill, would fall into that same category.
Given the numbers and the intensity of the violence that we've seen in these shootings, I think that it may certainly apply. I do want to pivot to Ukraine, though. I know you had a briefing that was scheduled later this afternoon with President Zelensky of Ukraine. It appears that those plans might have changed.
The briefing's still on. He was going to have a 5-minute Zoom. Apparently, I heard there were some technical issues.
Understood.
We're still going to have the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, and really hear about how catastrophic it would be to not support Ukraine.
And on that point, many of your Republican colleagues are concerned about sending more aid to Ukraine because they argue that there is corruption and not much accountability for where that money goes. You're on the Intelligence Committee. Have you seen ample evidence that Ukraine is misusing American funds?
Zero.
Yeah, and I'm on the Intelligence Committee as well, and I think they've done an amazing job with what they've had. And the real beneficiary, if we're not able to move towards this package, will be Russia, and China will be watching.
I met with President Zelensky last winter, and that was my first question. I said, if there's corruption or waste, you're going to lose support. And I didn't know what he was going to say. He said, I know that very well. And I spent the rest of the afternoon learning how they're accounting for everything that goes in. Now, you're talking billions of dollars. I can't sit here and say there's not a nickel going astray, but I'm convinced that the argument that somehow it's being wasted just isn't valid. We are on the front line. They are on the front lines of defending democracy. We're sending money and arms. They're spending their lives.
Senators Angus King, Martin Heinrich, we have to leave the conversation there. Very much appreciate you joining us and sharing your perspective.